So as you guys start to get internal into the body, maybe closing your eyes helps. I want you to just start to gain some proprioception. So this is just the internal body awareness. What's going on the inside. So most meditations are what is your feet touching or the back of your body, but in this case it's the internal senses of your feet. Does it feel tense? Does it feel loose? Does it feel stiff, mobile? It's just analyzing what's going on internally, intrinsically. Maybe you bring attention to your calves, your knees, your hips. The cool thing is you don't have to do anything, you don't have to change. It's just observing what's going on. What about your belly? Does it feel like you're holding your stomach, holding a lot of tension here, stress? What about your shoulders, your chest? They typically say we carry the weight of the world on their shoulders. So notice if your shoulders are hiked up. What about your throat? Your form of communication? Your jaw, your tongue? The space between your eyebrows? Your scalp, the top of your head? And I want you to bring attention to your state of being, your emotions. How are you feeling today? Do you feel excited? Do you feel anxious? You know, fun fact, anxiousness and excitement light up the same part of the brain. It's all the terms and the labels that we put that create the reality. And then without changing, just observing, I want you to bring attention to your breath. What is your breath telling you? Is it fast? Is it slow? Is it deep? Is it shallow? A lot of the times we bypass our breath. However, it is the most important factor of understanding our nervous system and where our nervous system, what it's operating on. Now we're going to take 3 deep cleansing breaths together. So what this is it's going to be a deep breath in from the nose, a hold at the top, and then an audible or a sigh or just an exhale out through the mouth. Maybe you try all 3 different variations and see how it feels in your body. Notice the differences. So whenever you're ready, go ahead, take a deep breath in from the nose. Hold it and exhale out. Take another deep breath in. Hold it and release. Take a final deep breath. See if you can take up as much oxygen as you can, as you deserve. Hold it and let it go. Take a moment to just notice the changes that you feel. Do you feel a little bit more peace, groundedness, connected to your body just by those 3 cleansing breaths? If your body is craving another breath, go ahead and give it to your body. And I'm going to introduce to you belly breathing. So if you want to go ahead, place a hand on your belly. And it just means that on our inhale, our belly rises up, and on our exhale, our belly just naturally deflates. Some may feel uncomfortable or just unusual within this, especially if we're breathing more from the chest, which is a flight or fight response. So here we are training the body to come back to a state of calmness, the rest and digest. So see if you can bring that intentional breathing into your hand. Feel the belly rise and exhale out. And I want you to continue this breath as we start to set some intention for this class. And today I want to talk about presence, about stillness, and what that truly entails, because God has given us dominion over this earth, which means that we give life meaning. Everything is worthless without us. If we are not present with our environment or our surroundings, then it's meaningless. It's that awareness of what's going on that brings value. So when we take things slow, we get to process the truth, the true value. Because I can tell you that true value is not mainstream. It's hidden like treasure. And where your heart is, there lies your treasure. So it's the presence, the stillness. And everything flows from identity. And identity is the posture of your heart. Take a deep breath in and exhale out. So notice your internal representation of what stillness is. And if you get agitated with the term rest, or can you embrace the term rest and realize that we live in a world of duality, and just as much as we need the action and the doing and the hustle, we also need the rest. Rest is also progress. How many opportunities are you missing by rushing versus if you were to slow down? Take another deep breath in and let it go. Slowly, you can start to make movement. You can rock the neck from side to side. Maybe you start to wiggle your fingers, your toes. Maybe you take a deep stretch. Just bringing some movement into the body, awakening the body. And then whenever you're ready, as gentle as your body will allow, you can slowly start to roll over and make your way up to a cross-legged seated position. Taking your time. And so as we're targeting the intention of presence today, I really encourage you to see if you can move slowly through the flow. So even as we're going to start to warm up the neck, see if you can bring attention to the neck. So maybe you drop your ear towards the left, roll your chin forward, and over towards the right. Now, I don't want you to make circles. We're just dropping the head forward, rocking from side to side. See if you can notice the muscles in the back of the neck. If you notice the connection between your neck and the spine, maybe you'll notice the tension going down your spine. Maybe you start to feel some cracks or pops. No, this is the body getting back into alignment. And then go ahead, you can neutralize the neck, slowly roll the neck back up. We're going to press our right hand out towards the side. See if you can flex the fingers up. So it's like you're actually pressing up against the wall, and you should feel a good stretch underneath the tricep, maybe even the bicep, the chest. See if you can relax the shoulder. Notice if it heightens up. So just relax it. And then we're going to wrap or press our palm away from us, so behind. We're going to wrap the right hand behind the back, reaching for our left hip. Here you should feel either a good stretch in the shoulder. If you want it a little bit deeper, you're going to go ahead, drop the left ear towards the left shoulder. And if this feels good and you want a little bit more of a stretch, you can go ahead, place your left hand, grabbing for your right ear, and just gently pressing. The weight of your hand is the only thing that's creating the tension or the weight. You're not pulling your head. And maybe you twist your chin towards your left armpit, whatever feels comfortable for your neck. But see if you can breathe through this space. Intentionally guide your breath to the area of your neck. See if you can breathe through your belly. If you notice that this is uncomfortable for your knees, you can always sit on your knees, or you can sit on a pillow as well. We're going to be here for 2 more deep breaths. Notice your body slowly melting away, easing the tension off the neck. And then slowly you can release the left hand, gently release the right. Take a moment to just observe the openness that you feel on one side versus the other. And we're going to do the same thing on the opposite side. So go ahead, the left hand presses out as if you're pressing up against the wall. The hands are flexed. See if you can breathe into the tension that you feel in this area, relaxing the shoulder. And then the palm faces away, wrapping the left hand around the back, reaching for the right hip. See if you can draw that shoulder down and back again. Sometimes it heightens up, especially if we're in a new posture, new movement. And then you can gently tilt your right ear towards the right shoulder. And if you want a little bit of a deeper stretch, the right hand will come up, and just the weight of the hand gently tilts the head a little bit more. Maybe you feel it on the front part of your chest. Maybe you feel it on the back of your shoulder. There's no right or wrong. It's just a matter of you feeling a stretch. Maybe you don't feel it, but know that it's opening up your body. The only wrong that you could do is if it causes any sense of pain or discomfort. Take another deep breath in and exhale out. And slowly you can release the right hand, release the left. Since we're getting all up in the neck for today, for right now, I should say, we're going to place our hand right by our collarbones. Maybe place one hand down and then the other hand on top. And you should feel the weight of your hands just gently pressing the skin of your chest down a little. And then with our chin, we're going to intentionally press it up and forward. So we're not collapsing on our neck backwards, but we're pressing our chin up. And you should feel a good stretch on the front part of your neck. Notice if your breath feels expansive here. Does it feel constricted? Does it make you feel a type of way? What type of way does it make you feel? See if you can be present with your emotions, present with the sensations in your body. And slowly you can release hands. Notice what you feel. So one of my favorite practices to get into self-care or to get into presence is self-care. And so with our hands, our healing hands, we're going to just kind of press on our neck and press the neck back. So it's kind of like you're trying to peel the skin off the back of your neck. So you're squeezing the hands together, trying to get a grip and peeling the skin, the muscle off of the spine. Maybe you go down a little bit more into your triceps. Or just in general, if this doesn't make sense, maybe you just massage the back of your neck. Notice if you start to feel tingles, if you start to feel heat, it's promoting blood flow back to this area. Take one more deep breath in. And slowly you can release your hands back down. Take a moment, just feel the blood flow going back to the neck, back to the upper body. We're going to get towards the back of the shoulder blades a little bit. So our hands are going to open up into a T position. The right hand is going to come in front. The left hand is going to come on top. So we typically want our elbows to be stacked on top of one another. If this is too much, then I'm going to have you guys bend your elbows and place your hands on your shoulders. If this feels good in your back, then you can take a double bind and wrap your right hand around your left. Yep. So again, if it's too much like that, you can just rest your hands on your shoulders. If you want to come to sit on your knees, we're almost done in our sitting poses. So take whatever stance feels good for you. We're going to inhale, lift the elbows up. And exhale to round the back, bringing the elbows towards the shins, the knees, the thighs. Inhale your way up. And exhale down. Inhale one more time up. And last one, exhale out. Slowly rise back on up. You can release the cross. We're going to do the same thing on the opposite side. So the hands are going to come back out. Left hand comes in front. Right hand comes on top. You can bend at the elbows, you can grab your shoulders, or you can take that double bind. Just notice the difference that you feel in the shoulders. And when you feel comfortable to inhale, the elbows come up. And exhale, rounding the back, the elbows comes towards the shins. Inhale up. And exhale down. Last time, inhale. And exhale down. Slowly you can rise on up, release the cross. Maybe you do some shoulder circles, get that blood flow coming back. And then we're gonna come onto our hands and knees, coming into a tabletop position. So the knees will be stacked over the hips, or the hips are stacked over the knees. Hands are stacked underneath the shoulders. We're gonna do a few cat-cows, mobilizing the spine. So on our inhale, we're dropping the belly. Your gaze is up. So think of kind of like a U shape with your back. And then on your exhale, start to bring the navel in and feel the momentum as you round the back and you're pressing into your hands and your knees. Inhale up. And exhale. We're going to take 2 to 3 more. So see if you can go at your own pace. See if you can feel the ripples of your spine, the momentum of your spine. So be slow, be present, be still. And you can go ahead and neutralize your spine when you've taken your 2. We're going to come into a thread the needle. So we're pressing into the right hand. The left palm is going to face up. And the left hand is going to slide underneath the right armpit, coming onto the left shoulder, the left ear. We're going to be here for a couple breaths. So see if you can relax the shoulders, relax the hips. Gently lift the pelvic floor or bring the belly button towards the spine if this bothers your back. Can you be still or quiet through uncomfortability or through the changes? Are you able to regulate your nervous system? Because chaos is inevitable. Change is inevitable. That's the only way that we get to evolve and expand ourselves is through outside of our comfort zone. So do we know how to train our nervous system to correspond? Can you do that? How do you do that? Take a deep breath in and let it go. So you can press back into that left hand, make your way back up. Make any movements that feels comfortable for the shoulders, the back. And we'll do the same thing. So the right palm faces up. Slide the right hand underneath the left armpit, coming onto the right shoulder, the right ear. Maybe you notice the temple that's touching the mat. If you need a pillow to place underneath your head, you can always utilize a pillow. How's your breath? What is your breath telling you through this pose? Take one more deep breath in and exhale out. Slowly, you can press back into that tabletop position, being gentle with the spine. We're going to come into a puppy pose to see if you can remain your hips stacked over your knees. If they go back a little bit, that's okay, but I just would rather you not sit on your heels. That's a different pose. We're going to start to walk our hands out in front of us until our chin or our chest comes down towards the mat. You can bring your forehead. Your head does not have to rest on the mat. You can use a pillow for support. Just honor your body. We're going to be here for about 3 to 5 breaths. So see if you can breathe into this. Notice the openness. Challenge yourself to expand yourself. Remember the difference between your edge and the ledge. What does presence mean to you, and how do you know that you are present? Sometimes we try to feed our avoidances or distractions, but truly they won't go away until we come to a moment of stillness. Either one is hard. You get to choose your heart. Slowly, you can start to walk your hands back. And now to counteract this pose, we're going to bring the toes together. The knees are going to open up wide. You can go ahead, sit onto your heels, and your hands can come out in front of you. Coming into a child's pose. So now you're feeling the roundness of the back. If you want to place a pillow underneath your knees, you can. Okay. If you want to come to lie down on your belly, you can always lie down on your belly. Some things that rob our experience of presence. One could be your environment. Maybe you're surrounded in an environment that does not value you, that does not appreciate you, and know that your environment impacts you and yourselves first and foremost. And sometimes change can't happen in the same environment that created us to behave this way. So what changes in your environment do you get to make? Take one more deep breath in and exhale out. Slowly, you can come back up into a tabletop position. We're going to come all the way onto our bellies. So your hands can be in any position that it wants. I'm just going to direct you first into a half frog. So what this is the right knee is going to come in line with the right hip. The right foot is going to come in alignment with the right knee. The left leg is extended back straight, and the toes are pointed out. You can stay up here on your forearms. You can come down and make your arms like a pillow. You can open your arms into a T position. Whatever feels comfortable for you. Maybe you notice the support beneath you. A second thing that robs us from presence is comparison. So, where are you comparing yourself? It could be to other people, it could be to their expectations of you, it could even be to past versions of yourself. Can you find humility with being honest with where you're at and knowing that this version is also going to pass by? You have everything that you need to have. You're exactly where you're meant to be. So, can you find that trust? Because sometimes when we have this comparison, we're actually creating a resistance to our blessings that we're meant to experience. Sometimes we compare our own blessings or others' blessings to our own. We want somebody else's blessings, but how often does that distract you from your own blessings that you already have? Take a deep breath in and exhale out. Slowly, you can start to release that right leg back. You can sway the hips from side to side if that feels comfortable. And we're going to do the same thing on the opposite side. So the left knee is going to come in line with the left hip, ankles in line with the knee, and the toes are pointed out. Maybe this feels more settling to you. But notice if you go to comparison of how one side feels better than the other or that this side feels worse. How can you let go of the judgment and allow it to be with what is? Sometimes we're so focused on what it's not that we completely miss what is. And just like God gave us dominion over this earth, we get to decide the meaning to things. We get to bring the energy. We get to determine the value. So, how can you make the most out of what is? Take one more deep breath in and exhale out. Slowly, you can start to bring back the left foot. Straighten out the legs. And rock from side to side. We're gonna get into the chest a little bit. So we're gonna extend the left hand out in line with our shoulder. Our right hand is gonna come underneath our right shoulder. Your left ear can come down onto the mat. Nope, it's on the floor. There you go. We're gonna bend the right knee so the foot points up towards the ceiling. And then we're gonna lift the right knee off the floor and roll over onto our left side. You can place the right foot behind your leg so it rests on the floor. If that is too much for you, then you can just straighten your right leg to rest on top of your left. If it does not touch the floor, that's okay. But you should feel a good stretch on the chest. Maybe you're gently putting a little pressure on that left hand so you feel a deeper stretch. And where can you find effort and ease into this pose? Where can you modify your body to train it to feel comfortable? Because it's like baby steps. We have to give it little nuggets. That once it feels good in a weird pose, that it can be a little weirder. Can you breathe through your belly? What would life look like if you dropped the expectations, if you dropped the judgments? How much easier would life be? How much more peaceful could it be? Take a deep breath in and exhale. Slowly, you can roll back onto your bellies. Be really gentle with the spine. You can lie down straight here if your arms want to open up. Just take a moment, allow the spine to adjust itself. Do whatever it feels comfortable in your body. And you already know it. We're going to extend the right hand out towards the side. The right ear drops down. The left hand is by the left shoulder. We're going to bend the left knee, lift the left knee up, and roll over onto our right side of the body until our left foot meets the ground, or it can be stacked over the right leg. So take your variation. If you need the pillow for support, you can. You can always rest your head on the pillow. And notice what opens up for you here. Mhm. A third thing that robs your life from presence is the ability to say no. Sometimes we think we're weak for saying no, or we get FOMO, or sometimes it's the opposite. Sometimes we don't know how to say yes to enjoy life, to do what we want to do. Can you say yes to yourself and no to other people? Can you say no to yourself and yes to others? Can you discern where you currently are? And what is it that you need for your own soul? And if it's weird to say yes or no, maybe you practice in the mirror. You build that confidence independently, privately, and then you allow it to reveal itself. Take a deep breath in and exhale out. Slowly, you can roll back onto your bellies. You can hold here for a moment. Then we're going to come onto our backs. You can do a stop, drop, and roll. Or you can just your knees can be bent. Maybe you just rock your knees from side to side. We're going to come into a reverse butterfly. So our feet are going to be opening up as wide as the mat, if not a little wider. And then we're going to allow our knees to fall inwards. See if they touch. You can play around with your stance if your feet want to be wider apart, or if it's too wide, you can narrow your stance. You can draw your feet closer to your hips. You can draw them closer to the edge of the mat. Whatever feels comfortable for you. Notice how this feels in the lower back, spine. Sometimes we're so distracted by the noise, the list of to-dos, where we have to be. And I think society has gotten really far from what humanity truly is. But sometimes we have to make that appointment for ourselves, to take time for ourselves, to slow down, because if not, we're always going to have something to do. And it's in that stillness and that slowness and that quiet that we can actually hear the guidance of our intelligence. Sometimes it might feel like you're treading waters and you're drowning. But maybe you'll realize that if you just surrendered, that you don't have to try, you can just float. Maybe it's letting go of the trying and starting to be. Take a deep breath in and exhale out. And I know sometimes the quiet or the stillness is scary. Shadows might come up, but shadows will always remain a shadow unless we bring it to the light. And once it's light, it can't be dark again. Slowly, you can start to peel your knees apart. You can make any movement that feels good for your body before we come into our final resting pose, Shavasana. So if there's anything that your body wants to do, go ahead and do it. And then your legs can elongate out in front of you. We're not sitting up yet. Your hands can come out into a T. You can take up your space, or you can place them by your hips. You can place them overhead. Whatever feels comfortable for you. But take this moment to allow your body to catch up with your mind. Allow the space to be integrated. The lessons to be preserved. And maybe, just maybe, you witness the loudness of silence, the productivity of rest, and maybe, just maybe, I hope you get to hear the whispers of intelligence. Take a deep breath in and exhale out. Start to take a deep breath in from the nose. And exhale it out. You can start to bring some movement back into the body. Whenever you're ready, as gentle, as slowly as your body craves and will allow, taking your time, you can slowly make your way up to a cross-legged seated position. Take a moment to just rest your eyes. Notice the stillness that your body can experience that's meant for you to deserve. How it calms the nervous system, because this is the state that you deserve to belong in. Take a deep breath in. Anchor this feeling in, remember it. It's always within you. You are the leader. You get to guide yourself here. Your hands can come to prayer pose in front of your heart. Take a moment to really reflect on what presence can do for you. Maybe you notice colors being a little bit more vibrant. Your patience is a little bit expanded. Most importantly, may you stand in your light and cherish it. Malama Pono. Thank you for practicing with me today.